Okay, so in this video we're gonna solve those two problems. First problem talks about rectangular garden, and the garden is 10 feet longer than it is wide, and the area of the garden is 875 feet squared. The question is to find the dimensions of the garden. So we'll start by making a sketch of this rectangular garden. So if we start by denoting the width of the garden as being x feet, well, we don't know the width, so that's why we denote it by some variable. So we choose x for the name of the variable. And so if the width is x feet, then the length is going to be 10 feet longer, so it's x plus 10 feet for the length. And since we're doing with rectangle and we know something about the area, there is a formula for the area of a rectangle, that's width times length. So in our case, that will be x multiplied by x plus 10. And on the other hand, we know that from the problem, from the text of the problem, we know that the area is equal to 875 feet squared. So we have this equation that x times x plus 10 should be 875. So now we can distribute x, and we end up with x squared plus 10x equals 875. Then we can subtract 875 from both sides. So we have the equation x squared plus 10x minus 875 equals 0. So if we plug those numbers into quadratic formula, we're looking on x equals negative 10 plus or minus square root of 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 875. All of that divided by 2 times 1. So making the calculations, we end up with negative 10 plus or minus square root of 3600, all of that over 2. Finding the square root, we end up with x being equal to negative 10 plus or minus 60 over 2. So we get two solutions, x equals negative 35 and x equals positive 25. So that's what the algebra gives us, and we're going to keep only positive out of the two because the width should be some positive value for the feet. So since the width is 25 feet, the length is 25 plus 10, that's 35 feet. So for the answer, we have the dimensions of the pool as being 25 by 35 feet. And then on to the second problem. So the problem says that the surface area of the cube is 175 square centimeters. What's the volume of the cube? So here is the sketch of the cube. And so cube is a box that has all three dimensions being equal to the same quantity. So I'm gonna denote that measurement by A. And so the problem wants to know the volume. Volume is equal to A times A times A. That's A cubed. And the surface area is a bunch of squares that make up the faces of this box. So each square has the area A squared, and there are 6 of those. So we end up with a squared multiplied by 6, so that's 6a squared. So since we're given that surface area is equal to 175 square centimeters, we have 6a squared is equal to 175. So a squared is equal to 86 over 3. And then doing the square root, we have a equals positive or negative square root of 86 over 3. So we're going to use the positive value because that's the dimension of the cube. So since a is equal to square root of 86 over 3, the volume will be a cubed. So that's the square root of 86 over 3 cubed. And if we want to have decimals, that's approximately 153.48495 cubic centimeters.